Ooh, we are back out in the Lancaster district, and today I've set myself a little bit of a challenge. And I've been wanting to do this for a while, and it's all coming back to this enjoyment or challenge as well, actually, of just not using a tripod. And today I want to have a go at some handheld long exposures. It's stunning, it's beautiful. I tell you what, it's nice to be back in the forest of Bowland with the camera. I must admit, it's another one of these days where I wasn't really planning on coming out with the camera today, but the weather is just so nice, and I've been wanting to try out this technique for a while. So let's talk tripods for a second. If you've been watching me recently, this has been the theme of this channel. How I've been getting by without using a tripod. Now I was just thinking about this here. There's three really practical reasons why I've always felt like I need to use a tripod. Okay, so firstly is not long exposures, but shooting at longer shutter speeds. So for example, 1/20th of a second. I'd have never shot like that handheld. If I'd have gone anything like 1 to 2 seconds, I'd have wanted to use a tripod. But now I'm over that hurdle. I'll shoot anything as long as 1/13th of a second with my camera set up at least. Or if it's longer than that, I'll just increase my ISO. That hurdle's gone. See you later, hurdle. Secondly, the other reason is exposure bracketing. Now, if you've watched my videos recently, you know I'm well over that. Continuous high shooting, handheld exposure bracketing, absolutely fine by me. So that hurdle's gone. See you later. Now, this is the big one. This is the big one, long exposure photography. Now, as far as I've always had in my head, you can't do it without a tripod. You can't do it. Another thing I'll mention as well, I should have said this at the start because it's quite big, no neutral density filters. So today, handheld long exposure photography without neutral density filters. What's going on? But I've always known somewhere in the back of the old head that there is a way of doing it, and that's what we're going to do today, guys. So I'm going into this a little bit tentative. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. This YouTube channel is very much not about me being a know-it-all and sharing all my wisdom with you guys. That's not what this is about. I don't know too much. What I do know, I try to share, but for the most part, we all kind of learn as I go along. So this could all go to pot. This is live. This might be an absolute disaster, but we're out here living the dream. So I've got about 20 minutes to get up to my subject. It's a waterfall, quite a fast flowing, large waterfall, which is really going to help for what we're trying to do today. And if you watch me regularly, you'll recognise this as soon as we get there. So I'll meet you up there. Let's crack on. We have made it, and let me tell you, it's as beautiful as I remember. Get a look at this. Absolutely class. So, two things before we get the camera out. Firstly, I think there's a lot less water than when I was last here. I'll put that image up on the screen now so you guys can judge for yourselves. I'm not too bothered because I'm not here trying to better that image. I love that shot. I think the conditions were amazing. We're very lucky. I don't know if I'll ever get a better image than that here. I love that one. But that's not why I'm here. So I'm going to get the camera out now. Handheld long exposures, no neutral density filters. Let's give this a go. Okay, so here we go. The moment of truth. The camera is out. And yeah, let's just see how this goes. And I'll talk you through what it is that I've kind of researched, what I'm doing, and almost what I need to kind of do in post-processing to make this work as well, because that's actually a really important part of this process. So, first things first, focus. I'm not actually too bothered about the composition in general, because as I said before, it's not necessarily about trying to get the best possible shot here. Right, so the focus is locked in. I'm focusing on the waterfall. There we go, I'll just do that again so you can see. So I'm focused on the waterfall, and that's sorted, that's out of the way, so I don't have to worry. Now, settings, ISO 100, f8 and 1/60th of a second, and I'm zoomed in at about 28mm. So I'm going to take one single shot to start with, and just check my histogram and everything like that, okay? There we go, so I'll put that up on your screen now. So that's the single shot. Histogram, as I'm looking at it there, if you look, is absolutely perfect. Stretched out from left to right, but critically we're not clipping anything, because I have got a little bit of the sky in up there as well, that I want to really make sure that I don't overexpose. There's quite a lot of clouds up there. Texture, something I always say, no, don't want to be overexposing that, because I want to darken it down and make sure we retain those clouds and that texture up there. Right, so the idea is you take a series of photographs, every single photograph being exactly the same. So as far as I could tell, the best way to do that would be ye old continuous high shooting mode. So I'm going to aim to go for about 10 shots, alright, somewhere there or thereabouts. So let's do that. So I'm doing exactly the same that I just did with that single shot, but I'm keeping the shutter held in so that I could take about 10 images, okay? So let's get the focus locked in. Focus on the waterfall, same again. Get the composition set, same settings and everything from that single shot there. And I need to keep it as still as possible. So here we go. Right, so I think I probably took about 12 shots then, but I'm not bothered. I'd rather have more than less. So the idea is now, I won't show you the image just yet, the idea is I put them 10 photographs into Photoshop. I stack the photographs. First things first, I have to align them all as if I shot them all on a tripod. They need to be perfectly aligned, and then there's just a feature in Photoshop that will essentially merge all those images together into a long exposure. So what I really like about this, in fact, I'll get my I'll turn the camera around so that you can see my face. Right, so as I was saying, what I really like about this, probably long exposure in general, is, to me it's like, imagine like a time lapse. It's like capturing a time lapse or a really mini film, a mini movie, but it's being displayed as a stills photograph. So, you know, for example, if that was a 4-second long exposure, let's say, that's 4 seconds in time, whereas the first shot that I got was what, 1/60th of a second, the single shot. That's a freeze photograph, you know, I've frozen a moment in time. That's a split second. And that's what I've always loved about long exposure photography. Yes, it's still a photograph, you're still capturing a moment in time, but it's just a little bit more elongated, you know. But anyway, I really hope this works. I'll show you it now, and I'll probably show it side by side with the shot that I got about 6-ish weeks ago that was on the tripod, which is going to be a better image. But remember, this is just a little experiment to see if we can get that long exposure effect. Oh, I hope this works, or else I don't know what I'm going to show you. So just looking at the image here now, this is me after I've edited it and everything. I think it's not bad. You're going to see the other image now as a comparison, and it, of course, like I said before, we had incredible conditions for that photograph on the right, but it's come out okay. And all in all, here's a portrait version of it, by the way. All in all, I'm pretty pleased with the result. Oh, so do I hope that turned out all right, or else this was a wasted trip. Well, it wouldn't have been a wasted trip, because the whole point is to see if this technique works or not. I was just thinking about this then. Part of me feels a little bit sad. A little bit sad. Just because when I first got into photography, I used to love, like, my 6-stop Nissi ND filter was one of the first things that I bought, and I used to love long exposure photography with a tripod. And for me, there's an element of romance in that. I don't know, stood at the side of a lake, when I used to be stood at the side of the lake in Queenstown in New Zealand, taking long exposure shots, and the photographs came out rubbish. But it's been part of my journey. And doing that then, even if it worked a treat, I think I'd probably continue to still use a tripod, because to me, I don't know, maybe I'm just being silly, but to me a lot of that enjoyment of taking long exposure photographs comes from that kind of art of doing it out in the field and using a tripod and using filters. That feels like a hack. It feels like I'm cheating, but at the same time I am really genuinely enjoying not feeling shackled by my tripod. I've found myself saying that so much recently and so much in my head, and I honestly really mean it. So it would be wonderful if that did work. This is mad because I don't even know if it's worked, but if it did, just to have the option when I go out that I'm not actually limited by my tripod in anything, if that works. The only thing I can think of that I'd be limited to is if I'm reluctant to take an image at a high ISO if I want to print it really big, because that print that I did the other week there at Wharton Crag was at ISO 1600. So I know now I'll print anything up to A2 at 1600, probably more than that. That's something else I need to test. But no, this has been a really, really good experiment, and fingers crossed that it has worked out. I can't wait to get home. I'm mad to get home. Cup of tea, obviously, first things first, but then to get all them up in Photoshop and see if I can do it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Probably a little bit of a shorter one today, but just wanted to see if that was going to work or not. Thank you so much for tuning in, and cheers for the support. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you so much. If you have a quick second, as always, to hit the thumbs up button, that would mean the world. And I'll see you on the next adventure. Thanks again. Out.